Hey, Seth David here from the world famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, and I want to talk to you about Zoom bombers. This is a thing, apparently. We find a perfectly good solution to help us through a time like this so that we're able to connect and run business meetings, and of course people who apparently have nothing better to do with their lives and have nothing of any value to contribute anywhere in society have taken it upon themselves to find their way into your Zoom meetings and be disruptive. At the very least, yelling and screaming and making it impossible to have a meeting. In some of the very worst cases, sharing their screen and showing porn while you're trying to have a serious business meeting. Again, these are people who clearly have nothing of any value to contribute anywhere in society, so this is what they have to do. And here's what you can do to cut down or prevent them from being able to disrupt your Zoom meeting. So first, I wanted to give credit here. This is inspired by this article that was published on Forbes called Beware Zoom Users. Here's how people can Zoom bomb your chat. Now, I'm going to skip all the stuff that they talk about in terms of how they can do it and why they do it and blah, blah, blah. And I want to get you right down to brass tacks here by going into your Zoom settings and showing you exactly where to go. So if you go into your Zoom account and you go into your My Account area, you'll find the settings area here. And what you'll want to do in any case is go through every single setting in here and make sure these are global settings, and many of them can be overridden when you're creating the meeting or while the meeting is ongoing. So you're setting your global defaults that will be applied initially, at least, when you set up and or start a meeting. Now I'm going to skip over most of them because I want to focus for this purpose on just the ones that will help you with respect to these Zoom idiots who are coming in and being disruptive, because like I said, they have nothing of value to contribute anywhere else in society apparently. So with that in mind, and I'll stop on a couple of these things that I think are just important. The audio type you definitely want to allow for both so that people can, who maybe aren't tech savvy or don't have a good computer mic, will be able to call in and participate that way. This you want to turn off normally, join before host. This is one of the ways that a Zoom bomber can get in and wait for your meeting to start and immediately start disrupting the meeting before it starts. So you want to turn this off. I have it on by default globally because I have a lot of meetings where they're webinars and I do want people to be able to get in, before I've necessarily gotten there to get the meeting started, right? So for most of your cases, if you're worried about Zoom bombers, turn this off. Do not use the setting that I have on here, okay? Let's skip down. I have the global setting to require a new password. This would definitely cut down on people being able to get in, but it will also make it more difficult for the people that you want there to be able to get in. So think about this one a little bit carefully. Same thing in terms of requiring passwords for people to get in. And then if you embed a password in the meeting link and that link is found publicly, then that's not going to help you, right? So you might want to turn this one off and publish the meeting link, but give the password out privately if you do choose to go that route. That would certainly help you prevent from unwanted people getting into the meeting. Mute participants upon entry. You definitely want this setting on. That way, no matter who it is when they get in, some people inadvertently aren't aware of their background noise. They come into the meeting late, and if they're able to be heard, if they're not muted on entry, then it disrupts the meeting when they join, right? So definitely keep this one on by default. What else do we have here? File transfer you definitely want off. You don't want somebody getting into your meeting and uploading a virus, right? That should be pretty straightforward. I do like to allow co-hosts, so that way if I'm running the meeting, I can have somebody else moderating and kicking people out, and we're going to show you how to do that in just a minute. What else? This one's important, screen sharing. There's a good chance you're going to want to be able to screen share during a meeting, but what you'll want to do is set it so that only the host can share. That way, if some Zoom bomber, idiot with no value to contribute anywhere in society happens to end up in your meeting, they won't be able to share their screen and share porn, which is one of the main things apparently that these idiots are doing. So set this to host only. It is not set this way by default. By default, it's set to all participants. Change that setting to host only. What else do we need to be concerned about here? That may be it. I think there was maybe one more. No, that's really the end of it for here. Now let's jump over to the actual Zoom client. This is what you'll be looking at once you've started the meeting and you're the host and you're in there. Now I've set a lot of recurring webinars up for my 12-step program that I'm in order to help out. And obviously we're very concerned. In fact, in AA, this is becoming a big problem now, AA being a humongous worldwide fellowship of recovering alcoholics. They are obviously a target for these idiots who, again, have nothing better to do and nothing of value to contribute to society. So What happens is once you start the meeting and you're the host, my camera's not on because it's being accessed by Camtasia. So that's where you're seeing my little thumbnail here. But you can go right here. Remember I mentioned about the screen sharing, and notice it's now set as we had done in the default to only the host. If my meeting has started, and I'm aware now, hopefully, that there are no idiots in my Zoom meeting, in here, just for this meeting, I can change it to all panelists. And that way other people can share their screen if that's going to be something I'm going to want them to be able to do. Okay, the other thing is we'll click on participants. Now right now, of course, I'm the only one in the meeting. I can't kick myself out, but if anybody else was in here, I could move my mouse over their name. There'd be an option here that says more, and within that option, I would find a way to, there's an option that says, remove participant, right? And there's another global setting, I feel like I missed this, that says that won't allow people to rejoin once they've been removed. So let's go back to in meeting basic. I'm pretty sure that's where that setting is. Here it is. Allow remove participants to rejoin. So make sure this is off, because once you've kicked somebody out, you don't want them to be able to come back in. Again, it's not going to be foolproof. If somebody comes in with a different name, they'll be able to get in. I can't be 100% sure of this, but I believe that because I use the webinar product, it requires an email address, and that cuts down the ability for these idiots to get into my webinar meetings because they only have so many email addresses. If we do kick them out, they're less likely to be able to get back in, especially with that setting in place. Okay. Also, when you're looking at your participants window here, and if you click on chat, you'll see the chat down here. You'll definitely want to monitor that, make sure nobody's being abusive in the chat. But down here under more, there's also some options that you as a host have. First of all, for the meeting itself, you can change this if for some reason you want to. You can allow them to unmute themselves, because as you can see, you can just mute everyone. And when you mute everyone, you'll be presented with the option here whether or not they're allowed to unmute themselves, right? So if you leave that checked off and say yes, then at their own option, they can still unmute themselves. But if your meeting consists of mature, responsible, normal adults who are respectful, then you won't have to worry too much, and you do want them to be able to unmute themselves, because they can, they'll have the option here to raise their hand, and then you can call on them so they can unmute themselves so they can speak or ask their question or whatever it is that you need them to be able to do. You can also lock the webinar from here, meaning that if you know you've got all the people in the meeting and you're not expecting or wanting anybody else to join, then you can lock the webinar, and then nobody else is going to be able to join no matter how many times they click on that link. So this is definitely going to prevent idiots from being able to get into your meeting. And of course, here's where you can choose whether they can raise their hands or not, and so on and so forth. So I think that's about it. I think that's most of the things you can do to prevent and try to eliminate the ability for Zoom bombers to get into your meeting. Of course, and as always, if you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out to me. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. I've already begun to put out some cash flow analysis videos and other things that should help you a lot, both personally and with your business during this time. I'm easy to find. Reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, or comments. As always, I hope you learned something here, had some fun along the way. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.